Now more than ever, transportation business owners need industry experts at every stage in their company's life cycle. We bring them to you in the hot seat.
Welcome to In the Hot Seat with the Tenney Group. I'm Spencer Tenney. It's good to be with you. Today we have a wonderful guest, Shepard Dunn, Program Director of the Truckload Carriers Association Profitability Program. Shep, welcome to Hot Seat.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
Glad that you're with us. All right, now, right off the bat, 30 seconds. Just tell us who you are, what you do.
So, Shepard Dunn, 26 years in the trucking business, mostly on the asset side, dry van, a little bit on the reefer side as well. I can sleep at night now because, I don't have that 800-pound gorilla anymore. Been at TPP for about a year. So I've got 7 groups, about 59 companies that I'm working with today. And it's fun because I'm learning from these guys every day, and every day brings a new challenge. So I'm glad to be here.
Well, we're going to find out what you've learned from them in just a moment. You ready for the heat, sir?
Ready for the heat? Bring it on.
So let's let our audience know, why do people associate themselves with the TPP program?
Spencer, that's an easy answer. The short of it is they want to get better. Okay. We put them in a classroom setting, and that classroom setting, allows them to vent, to talk about challenges, with each other, best practices, and through that come out these wonderful ideas. One thing I've learned about owners of trucking companies is they're not very good at working on their business. All right, they're really good working in their business day to day, but they don't like to get out of the office very much and work on their business. And TPP ultimately provides a venue and for them to be able to get out of that office and invest in themselves and their business. And so we're thrilled to have them. I think it's a wonderful program, and we welcome more carriers every day.
I love it. So benchmarking, what is it, and what's the biggest misunderstanding that business owners make about it?
Benchmarking, it's about comparing numbers, best practices, sharing ideas. One thing owners all want, they want to share numbers, okay, because they want to see how they stack up against, the next guy, all right? The big misnomer that most of the new members miss is that that's not really what it's about. The numbers are important. It's fun to be able to say, well, I'm doing better than X, Y, and Z. And that's all good stuff, but that's not what it's about. At the end of the day, it's about execution of the processes. The trucking, we're people in process business, right? So it's about execution of those processes. The misnomer, where they miss it, is that the coup de grace. If you talk to any of our TPP members that are in benchmarking, they'll tell you it's in the face-to-face meetings, because that is where they're sharing information. That's where they cut loose and talk about processes and people. And without that, these Zoom meetings are fun, but they don't really get to that. So the numbers, once you know somebody's numbers, that kind of goes away. It's not as important anymore. What's important is sharing and ideas and how you do that, whether that's in the classroom setting, maybe it's at dinner that night, or, at the bar later, sharing a glass of wine and visiting about things. So that's what benchmarking is about, and we're proud of it because we think it's the right way to go.
And what I would say from our vantage point of wanting business owners to help position themselves to make the most of an industry exit whenever that time comes, they need to build value. And I always tell them, you need to be in a best practice group. So having been in the industry for 26 plus years, been with, you're working hands-on with 50 plus companies right now, what would you say is the one differentiator between companies that are in a best practice groups and those that are not from a performance standpoint?
At the end of the day, those that are in the best practice groups, they're operating at a much higher level than those that are not. Now, that's not to imply that they all do. They don't. Many of them get in there because they've got issues and, they want to learn and they want to, get better every time. But, one differentiator, I'll tell you, as far as TCA is concerned, is best fleets to drive for. I'll give you an example. In 2019, 45% of the finalists in the best fleets to drive for were TPP members. Okay? Whoa. 45% of the finalists. Then when you look at the safest fleets in North America, we all know Bison's won that for 10 or 11 years now, right? They're a TPP member. But in 2019, there were 78 companies that applied for safest fleet. 32 of those are TPP members, and if my math is right, that's somewhere in the neighborhood of 45%, right? Which is good. Now, here's the real kicker here, is that of those, 18 of those 32 were finalists, okay? 10 of those were TPP members. That's a staggering 55% of the winners were TPP members. So that's a differentiator. They're operating at a higher level than the peers are, and a lot of that is attributable to TPP.
And the proof's in the pudding. I mean,
Yep,
that's hard. That's hard to argue with, right there.
Absolutely.
Right now, you've been with the organization 1 year, but it's been around for a while. Where is the TPP headed?
Well, I've been in two benchmarking groups myself when I was on the asset side, so I know it intimately in and out. Right now we've got 238 profiles from trucking and brokerage companies that flow through the Engage program. We've got 110 to 115 companies that are in the specific to benchmarking. Our goal this year was to double it. With Chris Henry there, and then COVID hit, and everybody kind of pulls back, a little bit, and so we fully expect to be able to do that in 2021. Without any question. I think folks are begging to get involved, and they want to get involved, and they see the fun things we're doing there, and the execution of the processes. So, I hope it's to double that in 2021.
I do too. So to that point, let's look at this. One problem in this industry. How is the group, the TPP program, or just even one of your best practice groups, what's the advantage of them tackling that problem together? What does that look like?
Well, I'll give you probably the biggest opportunity in trucking right now is under maintenance, okay. Right? And I'd say that's almost system-wide. There's certainly some exceptions, some companies that do that very well, but maintenance is really, you got to be a student of it, and Scientology, you really got to understand that. There's software programs out there, and the sales folks come in and they tell you all the great things that to do. But if you don't have anybody that can understand that and that can run that software and program it to do the things you want to do, you're not going to get out of it. What you're paying for it, all right? And there's a huge swing in a cents per mile from the standpoint of what it costs one company versus another. It could be as much as 20 cents a mile. Modes certainly has a little bit to do with that, but not everything. And that's because it seems to me, as an industry, we just write checks for maintenance and we don't really dig into it. So that's probably the biggest thing I would tell you that's the biggest opportunity in trucking right now is maintenance.
I didn't expect that, but it makes total sense. That's why you're in the hot seat.
Yes, sir.
All right, one last wild card question for you.
Okay.
You've got one retirement party, and you get to choose one band to play the music. You've got Aerosmith, AC/DC, or Jimmy Buffett. Who do you choose?
Oh, no question, Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy Buffett.
No question about that. I thought you were going to let it be my choice. But
well, if you leave it wide open, what's that?
Oh, it'd have to be the Stones.
Ooh.
Seen them. They were fabulous. They're still good. They're in the 70s, but they still can rock.
No argument here, and you just rocked it, sir. Thank you for being in the hot seat with us.
You bet. Enjoyed it.
Again, I'm Spencer Tenney. Thank you for joining us at the hot seat. We'll see you next time.